My name is Rita Kakati-Shah. I'm your host for The Uma Show. Welcome to your one-stop journey for feeling empowered. We are a platform for change. We build confidence. We are your voice. We want you all to be bold, be you, be Uma. Today, we are exploring role models in South Asian sports, and I'm so excited to be joined by our goddess of go-getting for today, Neha Uberoi, who is a former professional tennis player, and she's the co-founder and CEO of South Asians in Sports in New York City. Welcome, Neha.
Thank you so much for having me.
So you're from New York City, you've moved to Princeton in New Jersey. You grew up in a household as one of 5 girls. That's a lot of girl power right there. Tell us a little bit about your younger years and growing up with your sisters.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was very unique to have 5 sisters. We had a one male dog that was like my dad's best friend. I think we grew up very unique as a first generation Indians. My parents really wanted to instill pride in our culture and our heritage. And that's not something that we saw amongst a lot of our other peers. So, we were always told that, to be very proud of who we are, where we come from. We were given a lot of opportunities to learn about our culture, to study religious texts, and a really big focus on sports, actually. So we had a very competitive household. There was a saying that my dad, my father had made, which was "no mistakes in Kuman." I don't know if you know what Kuman is.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. So it's no mistakes in Kuman and no mistakes on your forehand.
Oh my God, I absolutely love
that. And that was sort of the mantra that we lived by for our younger years. It was, my dad really wanted us to do something different, to break the mold, to be athletes. And, it was all about building our bodies as well as our minds. Yeah. We would have to swim every day. Just a very, typical Desi parent, applying it to both sports and academics.
I love that because, in South Asian households, it's really hard to actually fathom first generation parents pushing their second generation kids into the community of non-academic careers, let alone sports. However, in your case, it was actually your father that wanted all his girls to be athletes. Did he know you all had sports tendencies? I mean, how did he actually encourage it?
Yeah, I mean, I think we played a lot of sports growing up. We tried everything. We were really big into swimming. I mean, I think by the age of 7, I had played every sport that there is. Wow. My father was a really big tennis fan. He went to the US Open for 14 years in a row. I mean, just tennis. Wow. Yeah, and in tennis, especially for females, is a kind of a marquee sport. It's something you can play for the rest of your life. And he was attracted to it. We all kind of took a liking to it as well. It was sort of a family activity. And, we took it from there, kind of step by step. So why tennis? Definitely from my dad's influence. And I think he really enjoyed it. And also it was non-contact. And, right. And if you know now with COVID, it's also social distancing.
There you go.
There are a lot of benefits to playing the sport. And, it was fun for all of us.
Yeah, it's like you predicted the future almost. Really cool about that. So that's really good to know. So it's like your immediate family supported your sports pursuit. What about other family members? Or I guess what I'm trying to get at, in our community, there's so many aunties, quote unquote. I remember when we first chatted about one thing you mentioned about family friends, and they would make comments that when you were playing tennis, they wouldn't quite get it. And in fact, it's like, they would almost indicate you're like wasting your time. It's like, oh my gosh, what are you doing? Getting dark in the sun, instead of, I guess, pursuing more worthwhile pursuits, like going to find yourself a suitor or a husband or something. So I remember that was quite interesting when we spoke. So just tell me a little bit about that.
Definitely, especially early on, initially, when we were rising the ranks and we didn't really have the results to kind of be on international stages yet. We were young and trying, and it's a very big effort. Our community, even just my extended family was like, you're getting dark, how with Indians and dark skin, and right. How are you going to find a husband? You have so many muscles. How are you going to go to college? What about your academics? What is this all for? I think the Desi mentality is to have a very linear success route and to do things that are risk averse to ensure that, everyone is settled and stable and married. Those are very important things to us. And my father wanted, I think I attribute so much of kind of who I am to my father's grand vision and thinking, that anyone can watch the game. How about putting my kids in it and giving it a try, and giving it a shot against all odds. And we faced racism, we faced it all, and it wasn't until we kind of made it to a certain level that our community said, oh, those are our girls,
Yeah, I find that so interesting, especially in our communities where you don't feel you get the support early on, which is when you really, really need it. But then suddenly you rise to fame, and then everybody's your best friend and recounting stories of your childhood together. And when they were that one person there for you, like, wow, where were you when I needed you? I guess, yeah.
I wouldn't fault the community for that. It's just not something that has been done enough.
Right. That's a good point.
Yeah. And there is some truth and knowledge to sticking with certain tracks and career paths, and making sure that there is that security. But I think breaking the mold should be done more.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think people stick to the comfort zone a lot, which is exactly to your point. When our parents first moved here to the Western world, they're bringing with them their culture, their community, their comfort blanket. Right. So in a way, when you deviate from that, and they just want to protect the second generation, so to speak, they're not used to going outside that. So I think that's what it is. But when you do actually become successful, it's more like, well, actually, let's embrace this moment. Wow, this is actually pretty good,
I mean, even wearing shorts, wearing shorts or skirts and that's a big deal. So I think, it took a lot of courage from my parents, both my mother and my father, to kind of put us there and keep pushing.
Absolutely. And you don't think of things like that until you discuss it, really. Absolutely. Yeah. And speaking of, I guess, academics, you actually did go to Princeton super young. You were 16. What was it like balancing an Ivy League education with being the peak of your professional tennis career?
Yeah, that was really hard. I mean, I grew up training 7 hours a day, 6 days a week. School was in the evenings, in between protein shakes, trying to cram it all in, having my dad teach me chemistry and physics, which was, I don't recommend, you know how it is. And, it was really tough to kind of keep excelling or keep at pace of both, but it was expected in our household. It was really like, there's no other, if you don't get an A, you're not going to play, you're not going to go play on the court.
Right.
Stepping into a place like Princeton where, the level of academia is so much higher, it was really challenging for me. I was emotionally like much younger. I was, physically like a little bit immature, I think, to my peers. And at the same time, I was trying to keep up my level of training in this really tough academic setting. And I really struggled. That first year was not easy. And I knew that I was going to go in for a year and then go on the pro tour. And I was just counting down the minutes for that year to end. But, I think I got through it. I wouldn't say I fully enjoyed it till I could kind of sit back and remember it. But it was tough. It was tough.
And that's really good for you to share that, actually, because when we just spoke, we kind of think, wow, your parents are sort of almost liberal in the sense that they think, yes, go into sports, we're going to let you excel at that. But in no way did they say you have to give up any of your academic side first. That was the priority, I guess. And to your point, doing those Kumon classes in your younger day as well, with you and your sisters, and you're like, I can't forget that memory of doing that. So it's almost like embedded into you that routine, that structure, that discipline, I guess, comes from a younger age. So thanks for sharing that. Yeah. So you played pro tour, competed at the US Open and at Wimbledon. In fact, you reached the ranking of top 100 in the world. You also reached 2 WTA Tour doubles finals alongside your older sister, Shika. Wow, that is just amazing. So tell us a bit about your heyday.
Yeah, my heyday. Interesting. I mean, I think pro sports looks very glamorous from the outside. And it was a roller coaster ride. There were some really high highs. I think, playing in front of the Indian crowd, in front of our community, that's some of the things that I will hold near and dear to my heart forever. Being able to kind of entertain and compete it's a high that you'll never kind of find anywhere else, I don't think. Lows, you're losing matches almost every week if you're not winning the tournament. You're growing up, you're in your mid-teens, early 20s. You've got coaches and sponsors and the world watching you and critiquing every part of you, of your body, of your performance. You have your own pressure that you've put on yourself. I need to do better. I can do better. So I would just say it was a roller coaster. It was a whirlwind of highs and lows, really low lows, really high highs. And it takes a lot of internal strength, or just sort of having a very good sense of self-worth to kind of balance all of that and handle it day in and day out. There were coaches, there were a lot of toxic people around in my environment, especially in female sports. You can imagine the kind of people that are attracted to that and who was around you. I was very lucky to always have my father, to have my family, to have a very good, moral kind of compass that I grew up with, and to use, have my culture really strongly in my identity. So yeah, definitely there are pitfalls, but there were some really, really fun moments traveling the world, meeting people all around the world, meeting South Asians and Desis in every corner of the world. Like, what are you doing in Italy? Oh, we've been here for 5 generations, like that was amazing to me.
Oh my gosh, I can imagine. That's amazing. So it really sounds like you've experienced everything. When people talk about life lessons and experiences, you have it there as being a professional sports person, and you're so young when you're doing it. So I guess, when we talk about life skills and what really equips us for later on, can you tell us a little bit about, I guess, how the training for professional sports really equips us with essential life skills? I mean, you've spoken about some of it there, but just tell us a bit more about that resilience and that grit.
Definitely, that's a great word, grit. I think I think grit is something that is so hard to be taught, and I think that sports or athletics really teaches you that how to get over your mind and your body. How to surpass when the mind's saying no or it's doubting, and to doubt that doubt and to keep going and to push yourself. I think those are very, very critical life skills to learn at an early age that sports can give you in competition. Another thing is putting yourself out there and being prepared to fail and getting comfortable with failure. I think oftentimes, when it's too late, that you get scared. You don't want to try new things. You don't want to be flexible or adjust to life. And I think so much of life is about, it's resilience, yes, but it's also adaptability. How flexible can you be? How can you bend? It's also about planning and strategy. What am I doing with my day? How am I compartmentalizing the fun? Can I delay gratification? How much gratification can I delay? And those are very important life skills, I think, to learn from an early age. Getting up early. I'm now, 34 and thinking, wow, life is so easy compared to my training days. It's such a walk in the park. There are other challenges, absolutely. But like the day-to-day of things are just, it's great. I can do it. I feel like I can do it all.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I love that sort of that feeling. And you're right, this really equips you long term. I try to think of it in terms of just being an entrepreneur. And when you're starting something for the first time, you do have to have great resilience. You are told no a lot. So I guess in your terms, just getting used to that failure and not having the fear, but using it as the roadmap for success ultimately. Because if you're scared of failing, you can't do anything. And I think you've really hit the nail on the head there, that is really the roadmap that you are structured to have earlier on. So that's incredible. Thanks for sharing that with us. So I guess from the outside perspective, from us, your audience, your fans' perspectives, we see a successful South Asian woman and a role model to so many young girls out there. We see a rosy image from the outside, this side of the fence certainly, but the lifestyle of being a professional athlete is totally cutthroat. It's beyond intense, and it actually impacted your health, didn't it? Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think I sort of alluded to it earlier, right? The highs and the lows and the pressure. I think it was a sort of a combination of you know, of things for me that sort of broke me down to a certain
Yeah.
extent. I think I had to stay very strong for a very long time. And I, you know, was in a very toxic coaching relationship where, you know, this coach was focused on my body, on me looking and weighing a certain weight, you know, things that just were actually not that relevant to my performance, but sort
Wow.
of his way of trying to control and manipulate me, and, you know, whatever his intentions were. And that what happened with that is it sort of enmeshed itself with, this is my only way to success. If I don't do this, if I don't achieve this weight, this magic number on the scale, I will be worthless. I will not win Wimbledon, you know, or I just won't be good enough in life, which I'm sure we can all relate to some
Right.
some respect. And, you know, I was young and I didn't have the tools to, or the assurance in myself that I could speak out against this, that maybe this was wrong. You know, we had invested as a family so much of our time, our blood, our sweat, our tears, financially. You know, I just wanted to do it. And I didn't really see that it was harming me until I realized that I have an eating disorder and I need help. I have bulimia and I need help. And you know, I was very, very angry and resentful for a really long time. Like, why did this happen to me? And my parents, not understanding mental health at all, also didn't really understand. You know, it was like, why are you so mentally weak that you let this thing happen to you?
Wow.
And, you know, it took me many years to realize actually I was really strong for a really long time. And I was silently suffering and not telling anybody about it. And I, you know, I think that was probably that was really, really tough for me to kind of accept. And it took me into my 20s, you know, the kind of eating disorder piece, the binging and purging, and, you know, the weight that sort of disappeared when, you know, I kind of said, okay, this isn't even, this is even insane, right? But sort of the lingering need for self-worth and approval, that kind of stayed with me for a really long time. And especially when I left professional tennis and, you know, was venturing into my mid-20s, trying to figure out, who am I, what is my purpose on this planet, you know, all those kinds of existential questions.
That was an incredible story. Thank you for sharing, because it's something that really affects so many people around the world, and especially adolescents, teenage girls, really. And you're right, it does go unnoticed. And there isn't that support, especially in sports and in our communities. I think a lot of South Asians just don't get it. Mental health isn't really talked about. And I think it's because of that led you to eventually, when you retired from your professional sports career, you went back to studying, you went on to do a master's at Columbia, at the time with 2 children under the age of 2. So that was wow as well. Like, you know, what else? Bring it on. So you had to balance all of that for starters. But then you made your mission actually to address mental health issues in sports, especially the transition experience with post-athletic careers. So tell us a little bit more about that. It's so commendable that is what you did, but just love to hear about it.
Sure, thank you. Yeah, so I mean, after tennis transitioning, I struggled a lot to find, again, purpose, meaning, passion. I was sort of looking for the same elements that you might find in a professional sporting career, you know, outside of that. And I really didn't feel, Rita, that I had people or mentors or even therapists around me that understood what I had gone through, who I was trying to be, and what I could accomplish. You know, it was a lot of people telling me, why don't you just become a tennis coach? Nothing wrong with becoming a tennis coach. But there were so many other elements to me that I wanted to uncover. I mean, I remember leaving tennis and saying, you know, what color do I like? You know, do I like to wear pants? Like, I really didn't know who I was. And, you know, finding someone to help guide me was just like, I have to do this for myself yet again. I have to pull myself up by myself. I remember going to the library, searching for stories like mine. Did other athletes have eating disorders? Did they, it wasn't talked about like it has been in the last 2 or 3 years. And that is really what really led me to the work I'm doing now, where it's, using and applying my life journey to help those of kind of come out of it. Because I think there are so many positive aspects to doing professional sports or even collegiate sports. And I think that just having someone as a guide to help you avoid some of the pitfalls so you can reap all the benefits of, sport, I think is so important. And now the world, or at least in the US, more attention is coming to that. They are seeing that athletes are a unique subset that have unique needs that need this type of support. So I'm really happy to be part of this kind of industry and this budding field. And it did take me going back to grad school, while having children, which was a lot. But again, I think it was my sports background that let me have, be able to do all of that and do it with a smile on my face.
It's incredible how you managed to balance on that and the work you're doing. So now you're actually the co-founder and CEO of South Asians in Sport. So tell us about that mission.
Yeah. So that started in 2016. That's sort of the brainchild of when my sister Shikha and I were on the pro tour, not seeing a lot of people who look like us within the sports ecosystem, maybe not on the court or playing, but just around sports, agents, journalists, even doctors, people of our heritage, investing themselves in careers related to sports. And I thought, why is that? Why aren't we using our expertise in this field? And I truly believe that as a basic community worldwide, you kind of, I feel like sports is the final frontier for us. I feel like we've killed it in almost every profession. And I think that I really want to see more and more South Asians join the sports industry. If tomorrow, Rita, I want to be a physician, I can turn around and I'll have a network of Indians or Sri Lankans or Pakistanis that can help me, guide me through the steps. But if I say I want to work for the NBA, it's crickets. So I'm trying to build this community of people who are passionate about sports, want to work in the business, as well as athletes, and bring them all together so we can help kind of lift each other up, as well as bring in that next generation. So we do things like panel discussions and networking events and, education workshops, mentoring, job opportunities. And we've grown to about 500 members worldwide. Most of those who are working, professionals working in sports. So this has been a passion kind of project of mine for a couple of years now. It's not my full-time job, though. It does take a lot of effort, but it really motivates me. It's something that I get very excited about, and I love, the success stories that I see. I love connecting people, and it's sort of like my playground where when I want to try things or develop personally, I kind of use this as a medium for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so much needed. To your point, I would love it when there were resources out there. When my two kids grow up, for them to have the outlet, the network to reach out to. So you never know, the way you're doing this, you are so strong in this mission. It can only succeed. I just really, really hope it does. And it's incredible. So, well done on doing that. And you are just so inspiring, Neha, I have to say. So before we actually let you go, any words of advice you'd like to share or give to any budding young South Asian athletes out there?
Athletes, keep going. You're not going to look like everyone else. Your diet's not going to be like everyone else's. Your success is not going to look like everyone else's. Just keep trucking, keep going, and use your heritage. Use the lessons of ancient wisdom from, our traditions to help you excel on, in sport and in life. And it's hard. You don't see a lot of people that look like us doing it, but you're paving the way. So keep going, and I'm here if you need me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Neha, for sharing your journey with us today. Neha Uberoi, everybody, former professional tennis player and co-founder and CEO of South Asians in Sports. And thank you to our viewers for watching on this empowerment journey today. We want you all to embrace the inner goddess of go-getting. We want you to be bold, be you, be Uma.